Many thanks for choosing us. The West African Examination Council today released results of the 2021 West African Senior School Certificate WASSCE. As you already know, almost 450,000 senior high school students took part in the exams. The results are fascinating. Nearly half of the candidates failed to meet the requirements of university admission as they failed in the two critical course subjects. And of course, I'll show you a little of the performance here on the screen for you. Let's start from 2018 and you will see the trend of 4 subjects. We're talking about English, core maths, integrated science, and social studies. Now, if you look at 2018, there was English performance was at 46.9. If you look at core maths in 2018, it was at 38.3%. You look at integrated science, 50.5%, and social studies, 73.3%. So in 2018, social studies topped the chart. Now let's look at 2019, and English did 49%, core maths did 65.3%. Integrated science did 63.2% and social studies did 75.4%. Still social studies topping the chart. You go to 2020 and you see English rise up from 2018, 2019, performing better at 57.3%. You look at core maths in 2020 also, and you realize it's at par with 2019, 65.7%. And you look at integrated science, it has dropped significantly from 2019. It's now at 52.5%. You look at social studies in 2020, and it's at 64.3%, and it's not doing well at all. Because if you look at 2018 and 2019, you realize that in 2019, it went a little up. Now in 2020, it has dropped significantly. Let's look at 2021. The results is out now per YX provisional results. And so this is 2021. Now you see English, which has also dropped from 2020 at 54.1%. You see core maths, which has dropped significantly to 54.1%. Integrated science actually has gone up, compared to the 2020 results, and it's at 65.7%. Look at social studies, and it's not encouraging, but it's gone a little up, the figure for 2020, but definitely hasn't caught up with the 2019 figure. It's at 66% right now. Let's do more analysis and look at English alone. Look at English alone, and I want to spread it out for you. English alone, if you come to 2018, 46.9%. Now you come to 2019, it's 49%. Now 2020, 57.3%. 2021, 54.1%. You ask yourself what happened. Look at how it has zigzagged. It went up a bit in 2019 and then went up in 2020. Now we are in 2021. It's down the 54.1%. Look at core maths also. And in 2018, started from 38.3%. Now in 2019, it jumped significantly to 65.3%. In 2020, it went a little up and it's at 65.7%. But look at this, 2021, it's dropped significantly from 65.7% to what? 54.1%. That is unacceptable. Now look at integrated science. And you start from 2018 and it's at 50.5%. In 2019, it goes up to 63.2%. In 2020, it comes down to 52.5%. And in 2021, it rises significantly to 65.7%. And this is applaudable because if you look at 2020, 52.5%, and you look at 2021, 65.7%, that's, an incredible performance there. Look at social studies, and in 2018 it was at 73.3. 2019 a bit up, 75.4%, and then 2020 64.3%. Now you are at 2021 and it's 66%. It's jumped up a bit, but definitely not a poor performance. So you look at these 4 subjects and you realize that there's been a sharp decline with English and mathematics, and you're asking why. And you look at integrated science and social studies, it's improved significantly. That's the conversation we'll be having this afternoon, because only 54.11 of 54.11 of the 446,352 candidates passed had A1 to C6 in mathematics, whilst 54.08 passed in English. The data also represents an 11.6% decline in the performance of the students in core mathematics for 2021 as against data for 2020. We'll be having a conversation on this one this afternoon. We'll be getting the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, who will be joining us for this conversation. Why are we declining, our students' performance declining in English and maths? These are core subjects needed as requirements for the university. How do we improve on these performances going forward? That's a conversation we'll be having. But this afternoon also, we're going to Parliament because we have a restraining order from court and will enforce it. That's the warning of the Accra Region Police Command to members of the Justice for Ghana group who are today looking to occupy the precincts of Parliament. The group is protesting the inclusion of the controversial E-levy in the 2022 budget, saying it will bring untoward hardship on Ghanaians. We'll hear from the police shortly. First, though, listen to convener of the group, Bernard Mona.
I'm going to sleep at Parliament House, as you are already aware. We notified the Ghana Police and the Parliament of Ghana that we are coming to picket in the forecourt of the State House. And I told you that Parliament is the representation of the people, and we are the people. For the past 5 years, we have always lamented and suffered under the penurious budget of President Akufo-Addo. Unfortunately, President Akufo-Addo thinks that because we have always acquiesced to the content of the budget, he can impose more sadistic tax on us. And so to that extent, we are having difficulty. We say that we can no longer take electronic taxes. We say President Akufo-Addo should withdraw the Medros budget, review it, and subtract the electronic levy from it. And we as a people will be going with the president on every path of development that he wants to embark on. That is all our demand.
The minority in Parliament has this position. Well, you voted them to represent you in Parliament. They are doing that.
We voted the members of Parliament, not minority.
Well, of course, you voted the members of Parliament, and the minority is expressing this position that you have.
We need to demonstrate and support them in the struggle that they are embarked on. Farmers are going to suffer under this. Young people are going to suffer under this. The poor people will no more have the opportunity to even receive the little stipends that they got. You will not be able to remit your girlfriend. So this is not an issue that you should toy with. You know that from your inside out, this is a tax that will affect your pocket. Your income already is a major income. Now you are going to do electronic transaction and get taxed. How is that going to promote a healthy business environment, particularly for the young people? So if our government is now no more without ideas, it is for us to demonstrate that the government has run out of ideas and that together we are ready to build a vibrant economic order. Electronic transaction is not a panacea to the opulent lifestyle that our government officials are exhibiting. Economic and electronic levy is not a panacea to the harsh economic conditions that we find ourselves. Cocoa money has not redeemed our nation. Gold money has not redeemed our nation. Oil money has not redeemed our nation. Even the many programs under the structural adjustment program has not redeemed us. They have imposed hardship on us. Let President Akufo-Addo not come and give us fake economic theories. And they had a court order for us to start our demonstration from the Kwame Nkrumah circle. Are we starting from Kwame Nkrumah circle? it means that they themselves don't believe in the efficacy of the order they obtained. Number two, if the police can mass up this number to ensure that we are working, we don't have stones apart from our mats and our pillows, they simply can protect the environment. If the place is a security zone, we are just security beings. They should protect the zone, including the beings that are going to occupy the place. The government is already killing us. So if they have sent the police to come and kill us, then they will do it faster. But we will not run away from the fact that we intend to occupy Parliament.
You flout that order?
We will not run away from occupying Parliament.
So you flout that order?
There is an appeal court judge ruling that you don't go to court to restrain protesters because protestation is a fundamental human right. And you are attempting to deny us that right by going to seek an ex parte motion on us. Why didn't the police come on notice to us? Bad faith. It doesn't speak of the integrity of the Ghana Police Service.
We can now listen to the police that says it is bent on ensuring that the court order is implemented.
The police is not against that demonstration because it's their right. Our only concern is their intention to occupy the parliament. That is the only reason why we have to prepare well. And then also backed by a court order restraining them from occupying the parliament. It's their democratic right to demonstrate. It's also our democratic mandate to protect parliament and any other strategic institutions. So our deployment is based on that, simple and short. It's not an ambush, it's a normal deployment. All the patrols, all the demonstrations that have been taking place, we always deploy our men to the prisons of the Parliament House. We've always been doing it. You have been coming to cover our deployments and demonstrations. We always deploy to the Parliament House. It's not in any way an ambush, because it is our mandate to protect that place.
Well, the demonstrators, they accuse you of being micromanaged by government to prevent them from occupying.
That is far from that. That is far from that. The Constitution mandates the Ghana Police Service as the #1 security institution as far as internal security is concerned. And that is exactly what we are doing. Irrespective of which government is in power, there's always a police service. So any attempt to put us in political colors is unfortunate. We are police service, and we are serving everybody in this country, irrespective of your political color or your religious color. We are for everybody. They notified us that they will be demonstrating. Fine, we don't have a problem with that. They went ahead to tell us that it is going to be indefinite. When they get to the prisons of Parliament, they will occupy it. And I said, that is not acceptable in any way. We are all aware of what has happened in other jurisdictions. We don't need to sit down to allow such a thing to happen in our jurisdiction. So in order to back up our operations, we had to go to the court to get an order to tell them, no, you have the right to demonstrate, but you don't have the right to remain at the prisons of Parliament into perpetuity. I assure you that even changing the route to this place is an afterthought on their part. When they brought the letter, they insisted they were starting from Obra Sport at Kwame Nkrumah Circle all the way to Wato High Street before they come back to Parliament. We had a lot of negotiations with them to tell them that that part, the Central Business District, and it's already choked because we're in the yellow side season. It's already choked with human traffic and vehicular traffic. So it's not possible to pass through demonstrators, to let demonstrators pass through that stretch. We had a discussion with them. We tried to modify, but they were not that cooperative.
The deployment done in
So it is subsequently that they told us that they will now come. It was only yesterday. They communicated to us that they are coming here. So for us, all our operational orders were, okay, fine, we have talked to them. If they don't, we prepared our operational orders based on what originally they told us. We don't need to communicate with them. I mean, that is also part of our modus.
But you are working with
To make sure that we are well protected. The most important thing is that Parliament is ready to receive their petition.
They said they will still occupy Parliament. The confirmation that you arrest them if they do.
The police is also ready to police them out of the presence of Parliament to present their petition. And that's it. After that, then they disperse.
If they don't?
Well, there's an order. You all know if you breach a court order, what happens next?
You are going to arrest all of them?
I said there's an order.
My colleague Manuel Cranton, who covered this for JoyNews, joins us via phone with updates. Manuel, have they been able to submit their petition?
Well, Aisha, just a short while ago, the members of the Justice for Ghana Pressure Group were allowed into the precincts of Parliament, were under the condition that they left behind their mats and pillows outside Parliament, so that just about 10 of them were allowed into Parliament to present their petition to the leadership of Parliament. It's worth noting that earlier members of the leadership of Parliament, actually comprising of the Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Alexander Apenyomakin, and then also we saw the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim of Banda, and then also the Majority Chief Whip, Arnaud Dompre, all of them coming out to actually meet the protesters. But as it turned out, the protesters will not submit their petition to the leadership of Parliament outside the precincts of Parliament, up until the police allowed 10 of them to have access into the precincts of Parliament. Then they went ahead, presented their petition, which was received by the Deputy Minority Whip and Deputy Majority Whip, the Honorable Lydia Seram Al-Hassan of Ayawaso West and the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim of Banda constituency. They received the petition and pledged the commitment of Parliament to actually consider the content of the petition, which included quite prominently the total scrapping and rejection of the controversial E-levy as it's being sought to be imposed through the 2022 budget. So that we know has happened. And then also, after presenting the petition, they were escorted back out of the precincts of Parliament. And so we also have confirmation this afternoon that the protesters are not within the precincts of Parliament, and they are not occupying Parliament as they have indeed earlier threatened to do. This is part of police enforcement of that restraint order that they secured from court yesterday. So, Aisha, what we know is what I've just told you. Petition presented, and then the protesters escorted out of the precincts of Parliament.
Manuel Cranton is our man who monitored the events for WASSCE. Okay, so 10 passengers, mostly males, have been confirmed dead, with several others injured in a motor accident involving an Accra-bound VVIP bus at Gindabuo in the Sola-Tuna Kalba district of the Savannah region. According to the Sola-Tuna Kalba police, the driver of the VIP bus allegedly lost control over the steering wheel, causing his vehicle to veer off the road and somersault, killing the 9 instantly. The injured, including the bodies of the 10, have been moved to Wa Regional Hospital. Savannah region correspondent Isaac Nonya joins us with more. Isaac, initially we reported 9 dead, but now 1 more passenger has died. What more can you tell us? Have families been able to identify their members of family, and what has happened to the injured?
The information we gathered from the Wa Regional Hospital is that 5 out of the 10 have been identified by the relations, while the injured have also been identified by the relations. Many of them are from Upper West, with a few of them outside the regional capital. And for that matter, when news went out that the accident happened, many of the relations gathered at the police station. They were referred from the Wild Regional Police Command to the regional hospital, where they were able to identify the corpses of the deceased of their family, and then that of the injured, their corpses. As we speak now, many who were not able to recognize or identify their families are still around, trying to have the opportunity to go into a mortuary to identify them. Also, the injured, one of them is a student. We are told he's one of those who have just completed the senior high. He was returning from the relations back to his hometown, somewhere Laura, and is among those who are critically injured, and is also receiving treatment from the same regional hospital.
Let's now speak with the Sola District Police Commander, ASP Digrafte J, who has joined us also over phone. I'm grateful for your time. What has your investigations revealed preliminary as to what caused the accident?
Preliminary, to the best of my knowledge, the driver was tired and he was sleeping. Then before he realized, he has just entered the bush and couldn't do anything about the situation.
So what has happened to the car? Has it been towed from the area? And what is the police are doing about the 10 people who have lost their lives?
I've just been informed that 10 people, formerly I knew they were 9. And it is just through this medium that I heard that another one has died. But some of them have been identified, and then we'll do post-mortem and they release the dead bodies to their bereaved families. The car, as we speak, the way and manner it is, it needs a heavy crane. We brought a crane, that crane couldn't lift it. But we are looking forward to finding a new crane which is heavier, so that it will tow it to the tuner station. However, the police are just nearby, and we've asked them to be very vigilant as to whether some people may come and tamper with the car or not. So that although we have not to it, but it is in safe custody.
Isaac, tell me, was the driver also involved in, or is he part of the 10 people who have died, or is he alive? Hello, Isaac. Unmute for me, Isaac.
Yes, the VIP bus driver was one of those who were critically injured. And as we speak, he is still alive, but receiving treatment at the same hospital. Then the driver mate, who was also there, he was not among the injured nor the dead. He is still alive and strong, taken among the few other passengers who escaped unhurt.
So these are 2 cars involved in this accident. Particularly, which of the drivers would you lay the blame on?
Well, this particular one, the VIP, the one that had the casualty, if you listen to the police commander, I think he entered into a pothole, and once he was dozing due to fatigue, he lost control of the steering, and then he ran into a tree, and then someone took into the bush. That was it. The other one, nothing happened to any of the passengers. They went on ahead, and the police will be in the best place to tell whether the one who was under fatigue actually caused what happened to them, or it was the other vehicle. But what we know is that the evidence is revealing that the one that's badly damaged, the VIP bus, actually was the one that caused the accident and leading to the casualties that we are recording.
And thankfully, go ahead.
A toddler less than 9 months, together with the mother, were among the deceased. In fact, they also died on the spot, and they were also identified by relations.
Thankfully, ASP is here. He would tell us who exactly would you blame for causing this? Because you attribute it to sleep driving on the part of the driver. Which among them would you blame for this?
Madam, the accident is involves only one particular car. And they are not. It's not involved. The two cars are not involved as they are being speculated. It is only one car. It is coming from Gindabuo area to Wa. He never met any other car. So
all right, so we lost ASP there. Isaac Nonya is still on. Do you know how the injured are faring? Hello, Isaac. Isaac.
There's only one particular car.
We can't compare the woman, but listen to the police commander. It's rightly so. It was just an Accra-bound bus, single bus, that the driver dozed off and ran into a tree. And then the incident happened. There were no two buses, but one, as we are hearing from the police command, and the evidence on the ground.
Yes.
ASP, go ahead. All right. So
the accident involves only one particular car.
Okay.
GT, yes, 5693-16. It is coming alone from Gindabuo area to Wa. He never met any car. So that assumption is a fabrication from people. It's never true.
Is there any sanctions you're going to give to this driver?
We are praying that you will come to life. We are praying that you come to life. And then the matter will start from there.
Isaac, do we know how the driver and the other people who are injured faring?
We can't tell the current situation now. But if you listen to the police commander and the concern he raised previously, is that the one bus driver from a long distance bus driver, one from Wa, driving 12 miles away to from Accra to Wa, is something that they need to look at. The road safety, together with the police in the Savannah Regional Command, are planning to link up with those.
Isaac Nonya is our man in the Savannah region. Earlier, you heard ACP from the Savannah Regional Command explaining to us what the situation is right now. So far, 26,008 people have been killed in road traffic accidents between January and November this year. A sharp increment in data for the whole of last year's mortalities, where 2,500 lives perished. This is contained in a fresh data released by the Police Motor Traffic and Transport Department. Our research desk breaks down the figures further for you, and I'll share with you. So this is the accident statistics from January to November 2021, fresh released from the MTTU Motor Traffic Transport Department. Number of persons killed stands at 2,608. Number of persons injured, 14,138. And these are fresh figures coming from there. Now, look at the regional distribution. Greater Accra has 605 of the number of persons killed between January and November. Upper East has 427 out of the number. Central Region has 189 out of the number. Western has 108 out of the number. Ashanti Region is closely following Greater Accra Region with 534 of the number of persons who have been killed between January and November. You look at Volta, you have 105 people out of that number. Northern Region has 57. Upper West Region has 50. Upper East Region has 85. You have Bono Region with 81. Bono East has 116. Ahafo has 73 people. Oti has 20. Savannah Region has 74. Western North has 71. And Northeast always has 13. And it's the least among the people who have been killed between January and November this year. If you look at the figures, Greater Accra tops the charts. Ashanti followed closely by Ashanti Region and followed by the Central Region. Now the Bono East follows in that manner. Then you come to Volta Region. So Northeast is the least on the chart. Now, motorcycle crashes in 2021 between January and November, is what, 5,528. And if you look at the persons killed in that accident, it's 1,140. Now look at number of the number of injuries, 4,293 this year alone. And those are fresh figures coming from the MTTD. And of course, these are not figures that is encouraging. So let's get on to Zoom and speak with a transport consultant. I'm grateful for your time, sir. All right, so we'll try and get him back on the line and have some analysis on this conversation. How do we reduce the road carnage on our, or how do we reduce accidents on our roads? And how do we as individuals be more disciplined on our roads? This is a conversation coming up shortly on The Pulse. We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly. Let's talk more about the WAEC results released today. And we're talking about half of the candidates who have failed two critical papers, maths and English. I'm joined right now by Kofi Asare, who is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Kofi Asare. First, let's look at the performance of this year's candidates. It does appear that there's some improvement in science and social studies, but sharp decline in English and maths. What's your analysis showing us reason for this performance?
Good afternoon to your cherished audience. I think that it's for those subjects, it's been, it's been fluctuating. If you look at the past 3 years, maths, English, and then normally integrated science. So it looks as if there are issues with especially maths and English. As I'm saying, it's been the trend. It keeps going up and it comes down. But if you look at the performance in its totality, it is a repeat of last year's 50%, at least 50% of students having between A1 and C6 in the 4 core subjects: maths, English, integrated science, and social studies, which is a good sign or a sign of good progress, even though we are having a decline in 2 of the subjects, and then also improvements in one and then marginal improvement in the other.
Now, results of over 3,000 candidates, but even before I talk about those results, so what do you think is causing the failure in these 2 papers, the maths and English?
Well, maths is an issue right from basic. Our issues with maths is primarily due to the way maths is taught from the basic level. Maths is taught to be a mystical subject. We haven't yet been able to unmask or demystify the teaching of mathematics. It is still perceived by many students at the basic level as a difficult subject. And so you wouldn't expect that to quickly, do a 360 when you get to secondary level. It is actually a tradition from basic. If we are able to demystify the teaching of maths, change the approach maths teachers adapt in teaching mathematics and make it more participatory, make it more learner-friendly, I'm sure people will be more interested in doing maths and then learning maths as much as the other subjects. So that is the issue with maths. With English, that as we speak at the primary level, less than 20% of students who are completing primary 6, have proficiency levels in English at the minimum. The biggest challenge in our education sector is actually literacy and numeracy rates, especially for English. So I would say that the pass rate in WASSCE English is actually an improvement on what we normally observe during the national or piloted, standardized tests at the basic level. But we have a lot of work to do in enhancing literacy. Government has rolled out some quality interventions in the area of teaching and learning English and mathematics, with the aim of trying to build foundational skills in maths and English. I'm sure if those interventions are implemented thoroughly, we should see more enthusiasm and more interest, and also quality learning outcomes coming out of maths and English at the secondary level in the near future.
Now, let's talk about the results of over 3,000 candidates that have been withheld. WAEC explains it's as a result of exam malpractices. I mean, we'll get WAEC soon to tell us, the status of these results. But what do you make of this situation? I remember, you've complained. Even last year, you had complaints about withholding results.
Well, if you look at the data on papers that have been withheld, cancelled, or entire subject results that have been cancelled, you realize that, let's start from the subject results cancelled. Compared to 2020, 2020 there was no practice and we reported them. So 1,339 students, subjects results were cancelled. 1,339. That was after we have raised issues of malpractice. Now, this year, that number has increased by 75%. It means that it affirms our claim that, there were institutionalized cheating, there was leakage in, questions for most of the subjects, for some of the subjects, during this year's WASSCE. That is why you find that the number of subject results that were cancelled increased by 75% between 2020 and 2021. Now let's come to the withheld results. That is also an indicator of, possible malpractice or examination fraud. Last year, 384 results were withheld upon the release of the general results, 384. This number has shot up by close to 1,000% to 3,667. Again, it tells you that the number of question answer sheets with issues suspected malpractice has increased by close to 1,000%. Then the third one is the number of students whose entire results were cancelled. In that case, it's not one subject, but entire results. Last year, when we raised issues about malpractices, the number of students whose entire results were cancelled was 174. As we speak, that number has increased to 480. That is a 150 percentage points increase in that number. So on all the indicators of malpractice, examination fraud, collusion, cheating, you find that all the indicators have gone up, and goes to confirm that there was something wrong with this year's WASSCE, much more serious than last year's WASSCE.
What could that be?
The leakage in some examination questions and institutionalized collusion, as admitted by WAEC, that in some schools, school authorities were conniving with students, invigilators whose job it was to ensure that rules of conduct governing examinations were adhered to, were rather colluding with students and school authorities to enable them cheat for a consideration. That is what is manifesting in what we are seeing. Because you realize that when the marking was taking place, we received various sorts of mark papers. There was a particular English essay question that I received about 4 or 5 different answers in a particular school, being marked by a particular examiner. 5 candidates wrote the same. This is essay. This is an essay. Word to word, paragraph to paragraph, everything was the same. Essay, English. So obviously these things are easily detectable by the markers and WAEC, and they will either sanction you either by cancelling your results or withholding them. So when you see this data relating to malpractices increasing, then it tells you that generally the examination, the conduct of the examinations did not go down too well compared to other years.
Definitely, we need to improve on this performance going forward. I mean, you've indicated that there's been more practices, there's been conniving with invigilators to aid the students and what have you. But what do you recommend as a surest way in improving performance going forward?
Well, I would say that it is difficult to make a definite pronouncement on this performance, because this performance, as we mentioned, had issues. So you are seeing 54% pass in maths. It could have been less, because core maths it leaked heavily. English language 1 and 2 leaked, the essay leaked heavily. And so it is difficult to, say firmly that for some of them, this is a true reflection of the students' ability. You see, we keep raising the issue that when questions leak, it blurs the extent to which the assessment becomes a fair assessment of the student's academic attainment. It blurs it, because you do not know whether that student actually got questions or they did not get questions. And it is not always that you can determine whether the student had questions or foreknowledge of questions or not on the surface of the examination paper. No. WAEC is only able to determine that when people are writing the same thing. But when people are writing the same thing, they are not able to detect whether they had followed it or not. So one of the reasons why we keep raising issues about the need to block the leaks is that whenever there are leaks, it casts doubts on the credibility of the assessment, whether indeed what Kofi Mensah wrote is genuinely a fair reflection of what he knows, or Kofi Mensah was exposed to the questions ahead, and so that assessment may have been compromised. That is the challenge for examination of practice. But again, I would say that we have a lot to do in terms of improving our performance at WASSCE. I don't want to dwell too much on WASSCE because, as I mentioned, issues related to maths and English are purely foundational. They are the hangovers of a poor performance in maths and English at the basic level. The best way to strengthen pass rates in maths and English in WASSCE, I believe, is to strengthen the quality of instruction in maths and English at the basic level, and also provide adequate teaching and learning resources, proper supervision, and ensure that the right pedagogy is adapted by teachers in learning maths and English, and make it more attractive and participatory for learners. If you strengthen the foundational skills at the basic level, you will be improving WASSCE results in the next 2, 3, 4 years in maths and English.
I'm grateful for your time. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. I must say we've been trying to get WAEC for more on this provisional results. It's been difficult getting them. But WHO, the World Health Organization, has revealed over 60 million people in Africa have hepatitis B, accounting for over 60,000 deaths annually. Beyond the high cost of treatment drugs, the drugs are less accessible and come with many side effects. Fortunately, some Ghanaian scientists are exploring cheaper sources of treatment that are less toxic and readily available. They have successfully been able to completely cure a hepatitis B patient with a locally made FDA-approved anti-malaria drug known as Nebima in a finding contained in the journal Scientific African.
Individuals with chronic hepatitis B infection are at risk of liver disease and a type of liver cancer known as hepatocellular carcinoma. Fortunately, hepatitis B screening, vaccination, and treatment are increasingly available in many government and private health facilities. 3-dose vaccination costs 40 Ghana cedis per dose. If infected, the medication for the 6-month treatment also costs 80 Ghana cedis per month. These costs are not covered by the National Health Insurance Program, and of course, many can't afford. Professor Mohammed Mutucello is a virologist at KNUST and member of the research team.
Currently, for hepatitis B, for chronic hepatitis B viral infection, there are an array of drugs approved for treatment and management. There are 7 of them. In this country, currently, what is largely used is tenofovir. And these are what we call directly acting antivirals. There are others as well, like the interferon base, which are also expensive. Both tenofovir and interferon-based drugs are quite expensive. For instance, the tenofovir that's largely used, the person has to buy it. Then normally they are prescribed together with hepatoprotective drugs such as Hepatovite for 6 months. And when we worked out, you would be spending approximately, or at least 1,000 Ghana cedis for the first 6 months, and they have side effects.
Nebima is a plant commonly found in the Kwewu Mountains. It contains a substance known as cryptolepin, which has been found to be effective against malaria and recently COVID-19. Reverend Professor Charles Ansah of the Department of Pharmacology, KNUST, has been working on cryptolepin for some time now.
But that is not the only action of cryptolepin. I call it a wonder drug. It is used in inflammation. It is an antibacterial agent. It is an anti-cancer agent. It is an anxiogenic, and a lot of other properties of this particular plant. So if you are using it for a particular disease, we also know that these are some of the properties of the plant.
Professor Mohammed Mutucello and his PhD student Seth Ejie-Dumfe initially found the success of cryptolepin against hepatitis B virus in a test tube experiment. To translate the findings into clinical care, a 49-year-old male patient with a history of chronic hepatitis B infection was given Nebima for 6 months in a case study. The viral load, blood, kidney, and liver functions were assessed. After 6 months of Nebima therapy, the hepatitis B viral load of the patient reduced by 99%.
And so we thought that the government should probably come in to assist us with a clinical trial before this can be rolled out. You know, this is an FDA-approved drug for malaria.
Happily, the scientists found no reported defects in the blood, liver, and kidney functions within the 6 months of Nebima therapy. Seth Ejie-Dumfe is lead scientist.
And we look at the markers, and they all fall within their ranges. We have normal range that have been accepted. So the values where they measured at baseline, at 3 months and 6 months, they were within their normal ranges, which means that the drug had no effect on the kidneys, on the liver, and also on the bone marrow.
So there you have it, an affordable and easily accessible treatment for hepatitis B. However, do not abuse. I'm Dr. Netta Pastram reporting for Joy News.
If you don't want to pay the E-levy, don't use Momo. That's according to a former Deputy Trade and Industry Minister, Carlos Ahenkwa, who is asking the Justice for Ghana group to back down on their protest against the inclusion of the E-levy in the 2022 budget. In the view of the Tema West MP, the inclusion of the E-levy would cushion government to facilitate its developmental projects. He argues that the protesters must seek a better appreciation of the implementation of the E-levy before kicking against it. My colleague Parker Wilson is in Parliament. He will be joining us now, but let's listen to this.
What do I say? I like to say that there are a whole lot, a tall list of issues raised, Critical amongst them is the E-levy. So it all boils down to the E-levy that they want that taken off the budget.
Taken off totally?
Totally, that they don't want the E-levy in the 2022 budget. And yes, we have received it on behalf of the Speaker, and I have assured them that the issues raised in there will be critically addressed. And as we are all aware, the Minister was here earlier and also wrote to Parliament that he's still engaging all the stakeholders, and at the appropriate time he will get back to us and let us know what has been done about the E-levy. So they should be rest assured. I don't think this is a listening government, and like I said earlier, this is the very first time that a certain minister has come back to us in Parliament to say that you guys have complained about A, B, C, D, and I want to engage, or I have reviewed some of them and I want to continue engaging and come back to you. That tells you that the government is a listening one, and the interest of Ghanaians is what we have at heart, and to ensure that we rule this nation to the satisfaction of all. Probably to be among the main, or to be an enviable country within the sub-region and beyond.
Honourable, the protesters have a different view. They think that the government is being adamant to their cause. And in fact, they've come with mattresses. They are sleeping right behind the gate. They say they are not leaving, they are not going home until something is done about the E-levy. What is your reaction to this?
I would urge my brothers and sisters, the petitioners, to kindly go home, have a good rest, take a bath. They've been here since the sun is scorching. They should have a good bath, take a rest, and be rest assured that their grievances is being worked on. Government is really working, and government is a listening one. They should be rest assured that it will be done.
Would they see some reduction in the E-levy?
I said government is engaging, the minister is still engaging, and that will be communicated to us all very soon.
So for now, they should go home and rest?
They should go home. They should go and take a good bath and rest. Yes, there's one thing I want to correct. There was an impression that the budget was rejected and we came back to reinstate. What I will say is the budget was actually, what we did initially was an illegality. So we came back to correct it. We came back to correct that.
You know, the minority also says that what you did, what your side of the house did, was an illegality.
We don't want to go
into that. They are
we don't want to go into that yet. But you know, we are 138. At least the Honourable MP for Fomena has decided to do business with the MPP side of the house. So that puts us, there's no argument about that. We're all aware. So this is just political talk here, but we all know that should we vote in this house today?
You heard the lady Asera Malasan, who is second deputy chief whip for the majority side, speaking to my colleague Parker Wilson. Parker joins us on the line for more from Parliament. Parker, what more can you report from Parliament? All right, so Parker is our man in Parliament, and Lydia Serim Alasan has been explaining the reason why the demonstrators must be rest assured that their agitations, their demands will be worked on, but also insisting that the E-levy is something that will help cushion government and help government go ahead with its expenses and projects earmarked for the year. Parker is back on the line. Parker, what more can you report from Parliament?
So, Aisha, you know, today has been the day where the various committees are considering the budget estimate. So this morning we do understand from the majority side that the Finance Committee and the Roads and Transport Committee had already begun sitting to consider the budgetary allocation, the various estimates within the budgetary allocation. So that is being done. In fact, the majority is very optimistic that with the processes that they've started, they're going to get the appropriation bill, which will give government the legal backing to spend for the year 2022, would be approved or passed by Parliament by the end of this meeting. And Parliament is rising on the 17th of December. So the majority is confident that on that day, they will be able to pass the appropriation bill to give government the legal backing to spend in the year 2022. But apart from that, of course, we just heard Lydia Sarah Malhassan, the MP for Ayawaso West Wagon, making the point about those who are picketing. Now, I got a quick reaction from the MP for Tema West, Carlos Ahenkra, and he indicated to me that government needs this e-levy. It is very important for government because they have already programmed the activities for the year 2022, and so exclusion of it would be a bit problematic. However, if you think you're an individual and you cannot pay the e-levy, you are not under any compulsion to use Momo. And so if you don't want to pay, then don't use Momo. He's asking the protesters to get a better appreciation of the introduction of the e-levy so that at least they would understand what government seeks to do with the e-levy. So these are some of the things that have happened here. But if you come to the chamber, there's been concerns about the construction of AstroTurf within the various regions. It's been established that over 80 AstroTurfs have been constructed across the country, but almost about 30 to 40 of them have been constructed within Ashanti region and the Eastern region, and this has been a concern for the minority. It is Honorable Suhini, Al-Hassan Suhini, who raised the matter on the floor when they invited the sports minister to come and answer an urgent question on the construction of AstroTurf in the country. So that has been some of the issues or things that have come up on the floor of Parliament today.
So definitely there's going to be a response that is expected from the Speaker, number one. Have you had any indication?
Not yet, Aisha. We know that Parliament is still working around. In fact, they've asked the security or personnel to ensure that the protesters do not have access to the forecourt of Parliament. So they're working with them outside there. We are yet to get an official response from the Speaker. But when I engaged some of the majority members, they indicated to me that it is government who has the opportunity and the wherewithal to make any changes to the e-levy, even though Parliament can amend it on the floor of the House. When there's an appropriation bill, the minority can raise concerns about it and force the House to put the amendment to a vote, whether it is 1%, 0.5%. And so Parliament really, for now, cannot do anything about it, but they are waiting for government to at least respond to the concerns raised by the protesters. So we are yet to get an official communication from the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, George Sewusu, who is chairing today's sitting, and find out what exactly his response may be. But for now, the minority and the majority are convinced that, well, we should do something about it. And so government and the finance minister is considering all the concerns raised and then address them.
And let's look at other business of the House. What other business is being conducted in the chamber?
So for now, the minister responsible for fisheries and aquaculture just finished answering some questions on the floor about premixed fuel. We are expecting the finance minister, Kenneth Furiata, to appear before the House and also answer questions on what government is doing to reduce fuel prices across the country. And actually, I know that it's something that you are concerned about, the fuel prices, and Ghanaians have raised concerns also about the fuel prices. So we are expecting the finance minister to appear before the House and answer the steps being taken by government to reduce fuel prices in the country.
Parker Wilson is our man in Parliament. Definitely lenses are widely opened in Parliament and will bring you up to speed as to what happens in Parliament. A coalition of affirmative action is making the strongest push for the affirmative action bill to be given the needed urgent action. The bill, which seeks to bring gender parity, has been in and out of Parliament and currently awaiting cabinet approval with what some have described as no sense of urgency. The bill has simply been abandoned, and that according to the convener of the coalition on the affirmative action bill, Sheila Minka Primo, defeats the gender parity goal. Speaking at Women in Media Engagement organized by IDEG, Madam Minka Primo stated the failure to pass this bill will spell doom for the cause to achieve a social and economic balance in society.
Been a lot of attempts to enact an affirmative action gender equality law in Ghana. You know, that you can see that in the middle we have gender equality, because you can have affirmative action in several areas when it comes to disability, people who are discriminated against. But the bill we've been trying to push deals with gender equality. And it started as far back as Ghana's, when Ghana became a republic in 1960, there was a law called the Representation of the People's Act of 1960, which brought in women from different parts of Ghana to parliaments. There have been fluctuations, and the data indicates that in 1965 was about when we had the highest, 18.5%, but that was a very short-lived period because we had a coup shortly after the election. And as was indicated by the one who introduced us to the program, research has shown that there's gender imbalance in Ghana in several spheres, and provision is made for affirmative action to try to right the wrong. There's a group called the Women's Manifesto, which is one of the big women's groups. They've done a lot of research and made a proposal for affirmative action. There are a number of existing policies on affirmative action, but the belief is that they've not had the expected impact, and discrimination against women continues, particularly in public life. There have been lots of research. The next slide, please. So the big question is why the need for the affirmative action bill. The memorandum indicates that it's a bill to redress areas of social, economic, and educational imbalance in Ghana. And it aims at eliminating discrimination and the need for equal opportunity for both men and women. There's a lot of justification for it, and I'll quickly run through, because that's not the main focus of my presentation. Okay? First of all, there's a need to address the marginalization of women in public and economic life in Ghana. You just heard the data in the recent population status, population survey that was done. They said women are about 50.5 or 50.7 of the population. But the ratio of women in parliament and in district assemblies is very low, as we've already heard. Currently, out of the 275, we only have 40 women, making 14.45%, which is very, very bad. Then, at the district assembly as well, it's also not very good. There's a policy to have 30% of the government's nominees as women, but this is also not working. When it comes to the actual election, very few women also win, so the numbers there too are not good. And there are several reasons for the marginalization of women in public life. Gender division of labor at the home leaves very little time for most women to actively participate in politics. The patriarchal system that we have, negative socioeconomic, sociocultural beliefs and practices, I understand for most women. Sometimes when they are trying to even campaign and they are on the platforms, they will ask you, hey, why should we fear you? And most people, it's like men are the heads. So there are lots and lots of things. We've already heard from our population census that women outnumber men. And therefore, it's very important that we also have an equal voice at the local level, where, at the decentralized level. Again, various international human rights instruments, as I've already mentioned, including CEDAW, calls for this. Then it will also ensure some kind of de facto equality at that level. Then to ensure that the perspectives of women are reflected in local level policies and bylaws. At that level, they make policies and bylaws. If women's voices are not there, then where are we going?
Citing examples in other African countries like Rwanda, South Africa, Guinea, among others, Kwesi Jonah described as woefully inadequate women representation and appointment, especially in the recent appointment of 260 MMDCEs by President Akufo-Addo, out of which only 38, representing 4.6%, were women. Mr. Kwesi Jonah, senior research fellow at IDEG, proposed a quota system to give women a head start in elections to give more women the opportunity, especially at the local government level. He explains further.
What we at IDEG are proposing is another system, the mixed member proportional representation, which works even better than the quota system. In fact, if we adopted the mixed member proportional representation, you will not have to wait until 2030 before you reach the 50% target that the Affirmative Action Bill has set for women's representation at all levels of government. And this is the method that I now want to describe, the mixed member proportional representation. The mixed member proportional, the reason why it is called the mixed member is that people are elected into the assembly on the basis of two different electoral systems. The first one is what we are currently doing for Ghana Parliament. Parties present candidates for parliamentary elections, and the candidate who gets a majority of even one gets elected to Parliament. In the mixed member proportional representation, you maintain the system, but you add onto it another system called the proportional representation. What does proportional representation mean? Proportional representation means you get seats in a representative body according to the percentage of the votes you obtained. So if you obtain 40% of the votes, you get 40% of the seats. If you get 50% of the votes, you get 50% of the seats.
Poor health referral system. Father cries out at death of daughter Frances Opoku Gyamfi is heartbroken over the death of a 7-month-old daughter as a result of the healthcare system's failure to respond to her emergency. Little Ifyasika Opoku Gyamfi had breathing problems and was referred to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital from the Asokwa Children's Hospital. The father says his daughter could have survived if the referral system was efficient. Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more in the following report.
Francis Opoku says his daughter gasped heavily for breath every 30 seconds, even under oxygen at the Asokwa Children's Hospital. Her condition needed referral to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital.
I was in charge, and the way she was breathing, and she would be shouting, ah, at least every 30 seconds. Whoa. But when I went there, and I asked about the man in charge, the doctor or the PA also. So, what are they doing? They say they have called the ambulance service. They have called the ambulance to come and take her to Komfo-Anokye. There was a nurse around, the lady and the guy. So I asked them. So I was even angry. And the guy said, oh, don't be too judgmental. Please calm down. Komfo-Anokye says there's no bed to accommodate my daughter.
Public Affairs Director at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, Kwame Frimpong, however, says an initial enquiry at the hospital's call log showed no evidence of a call placed from the Asokwa Children's Hospital. He has, however, indicated the quality control unit of the hospital is probing the matter.
We've checked our records, we've checked the pediatric emergency unit, we've checked our main telephone exchange, and there was no call from that hospital. So our quality assurance unit has been asked to do further investigations, because usually, whenever somebody calls us, any of the emergency units, there's a documentation procedure that is followed.
Mr. Frimpong also raised concerns with the lack of space at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital.
And until we get complementary facilities like Kolebu has gotten in Accra, where there's UGMC, there's RAGE, there's 37, there is a police hospital, there's Tema General Hospital, and other quasi-government hospitals, until we have reached that point, where we have complementary facilities to take some of the pressure off Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, there will be times that we will have exhausted our capacity and we will not be in the position to admit additional patients. So it's not just a question of no beds. It's a question of absence of bed space.
From Kumasi, Emmanuel Bright-Quick reporting.
And in Germany, it's a big day today as new Chancellor Olaf Scholz is sworn in as the country's 9th post-war Chancellor and Angela Merkel's successor. His gender-equal cabinet will also be sworn in. For the first time, women will lead all ministries related to foreign policy and security. Let's take you live now to Berlin and speak to DW political correspondent Thomas Sparrow. Thomas, good to have you. This is certainly the beginning of a new political era in Germany. Tell us more about the country's new government and the Chancellor. Who will be the key figures?
This is definitely the beginning of a new era for Germany. After 16 years of Angela Merkel, 5,860 days in power, it's now time for Olaf Scholz to lead the government. He's a very experienced politician, both at a local level, he was mayor of Hamburg, for example, and at a federal level, most recently as finance minister and vice chancellor. He got here to a large extent because he's seen as a safe pair of hands in times of crisis. He will lead a gender-balanced cabinet in an unusual three-party coalition, his Social Democrats, the Greens and the Liberals, and all posts related to foreign policy and security will be led by female ministers. Annalena Baerbock will be the country's first ever female foreign minister.
Thomas, let's look at the priorities of this new government.
The urgent challenge, the immediate challenge will be to tackle the fourth wave of the coronavirus pandemic. It has affected Germany in a very dramatic way. Beyond that, the government is promising policies that will have, quote, high impact. An increase of the minimum wage, no tax hikes, building more apartments to deal with Germany's housing problems, dismantling unnecessary bureaucracy. Moreover, the coalition parties are planning a series of reforms to make getting German citizenship easier. And tackling climate change and investing in renewable energies will be a key government policy, in particular considering the Greens play an important role in the cabinet.
How different will it be from Angela Merkel's government, Thomas?
It will be different in certain aspects. After all, the three government parties have priorities that differ from those of Angela Merkel's party, the CDU, which is now in opposition. But don't expect radical change. Germany is a country that very much favours stability. And this will be seen very clearly, for example, in Germany's foreign policy. Keeping alliances with France and the US, focusing on strengthening the EU, playing a role in NATO. There could be a different tone, for example, when dealing with countries like Russia or China. But in general, Germany's allies can expect a high degree of continuity.
Thomas Sparrow is with Berlin DW, our partners, and we're live on The Pulse. Remember to join our conversation via social media handles on JoyNews on TV. You can tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. We take a break. When we return, there is more for you on The Pulse. Welcome back to The Pulse, and you know where to join the conversation on JoyNews on TV. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Danana Aisha. Now, President Akufo-Addo has affirmed he will not make any modifications to the country, its electoral, and was ahead of the 2024 general elections. The president, who is due to step down in 2025, says he will respect the time limits placed on his presidency and will not be an impediment in the conduct of the elections. Opening the Kofi Annan Peace and Security Forum, the president said he stands ready to hand over to whoever is elected in the next elections.
As President of the Republic of Ghana and current chair of the Authority of ECOWAS States and Governments, I pledge to continue to respect the tenets of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, and specifically the following. I will not make or cause to be made any substantial modification to the electoral laws in the last 6 months before the next election. I will respect the two-term limit for the exercise of presidential authority as stipulated in the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. I will not be an impediment to the conduct of free and fair, transparent elections. I'll hand over power to the next elected president on 7th January 2025. And I will rally my fellow ECOWAS heads of state to take the pledge and support them as they continue to work towards democracy and good governance in their respective countries.
Aggrieved NAT and NAGRA CCT members kick against fraudulent One Teacher, One Laptop initiative, and the National Association of Graduate Teachers and Coalition of Concerned Teachers in the Volta region have raised concerns over developments surrounding the One Teacher, One Laptop initiative. According to the members, leaders of the associations didn't inform them about the negotiations, neither did members approve the deduction of the professional development allowance to procure the laptops. Addressing the press in Ho, convener of the Aggrieved Teachers, Matthias Tolansi, questioned the track record of KA Technologies. The firm awarded a contract to supply the teachers make laptops. He also described as disturbing the use of their Tier 2 money to pre-finance the deal and called for the resignation of the Volta Regional NAT Council members.
For all of us are working tools, and as such, laptops are of no exception. It is therefore non-negotiable for teachers to use their allowance or salary to procure teaching and learning aids. In the past regime, teachers were given laptops for free. And why wouldn't the same be done under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo? It is very disturbing knowing that our pension money was withdrawn and given to the so-called company. Again, out of greed and disrespect for members, they did so without our consent. The cost of laptop, which is 1,550, including training, maintenance, technical support, etc., has become chameleon-like. Inconsistent figures being bundled around raises serious issues of suspicion. It is not obvious the deal was just for chop-chop. Now that they have deducted a chunk of this money and used to procure the laptop for us, we want to know what is the equivalence in terms of points that will accrue to each teacher. Again, how do we now pay for workshops and other trainings yet to be organized? In short, deducting the laptop money from our professional development allowance is an act of criminality. We call on our regional council members of NAT, who are part of National Council, to resign honorably or face a wrath. The leaders at the district levels should be ready to face impeachment processes that we will soon employ to remove them from office. We are using this medium to call on all delegates to boycott the upcoming delegate conference or injunction placed on it with immediate effect until all issues surrounding these fraudulent transactions are resolved. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we want to state the deal is very fraudulent and that all deductions made should be refunded to us with immediate effect. Amen. We will not allow ourselves to be taken for granted by our union leaders and government. We are therefore proposing to government to start paying us the professional development allowance on monthly basis beginning January 2022. Madam Philippa, Mr. Thomas Musa, Angel, aka Ivo Kabonu, and Ki Ali are now the cause of woes of teachers in Ghana. Yes. We call on all teachers across the country to join the fight against our union leaders as we demand what is due us.
The National Union of Ghana Students, President of the Simon Dendog Dombo University of Integrated Business and Development Studies, Kwesi Majid, has issued a 48-hour ultimatum calling of the various labor unions to suspend the strike or they will advise themselves. He says the strike action has left the students stranded, confused, and now spent more money than before. Kwesi Majid states that the inconsistencies in the running of the academic calendar of the university is having an adverse effect on the students as they are unable to plan for the semester.
It is day 2 of the industrial strike embarked on by the various labor unions at the Simon Diendo University of Business and Development Studies. This is the second time in almost 3 weeks the staff at the university have embarked on a strike on delayed payment of their salaries by the university management. SDDU Secretary of the University Teachers Association UTAG, Dr. Elijah Yendao, explained why they're staying off from the lecture halls.
A number of pacts or agreements have been signed with management over the period, and many at times management normally disappoint some or in a way violate or infringe on some of these agreements. And so this may even be the third or fourth agreement that we sign with management, and they have often promised to ensure that workers' salaries are paid on time. But what do we see? We are on the, today's what, 7th, am I right? Today's 7th. Staff of UBs haven't been paid. What are we talking about?
November, October.
November salaries. November salaries have not been paid. So what are we talking about? Look at the suffering. How do you expect staff to come to work? How will they get money to fuel their vehicles, their motorbikes, and whatever to come and work? It's not possible. So let's just get it right. Until management fixes it, there's no way staff will come to work. No.
To add more pepper to the wounds, and that warranted the latest strike action, is the blatant and laconic bravery displayed by management of the university in refusing to adhere to an agreement at a meeting with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, to go for bank overdrafts to pay for their salaries.
GTEC and other stakeholders directed the two vice chancellors, Navrongo and then Wa, to come back and make arrangement with banks to get overdraft of soft loans to pay their staff. Navrongo vice chancellor, who was the one even opposing the move to take any overdraft facility, came home and quickly implemented the GTEC directive. As we speak, Navrongo staff have been paid on the 30th of November. What do we see on SDDUB's campus? Nothing is going on. I think they secured approval only on the 30th of November and called a meeting to meet labor unions on the 30th of November. And this meeting with GTEC took place on the 19th of November. So from 19th to 30th, what was happening? How did the Navrongo Vice Chancellor, how did they do it?
The strike action is already having an effect, and the students are the ones feeling it the most. Apart from the sounds of the violent Harmattan winds, there is total silence here. It appears the university has been deserted. It appears and look more of a ghost town. The students are saying that they are at their wit's end.
We struggle to get funds to transport ourselves to school, only to come and no lectures. You go for lectures today, tomorrow, the lecturer says until further notice. It is not fair.
2 weeks to work for this school fees, and it's very pathetic. Even though we have started lectures, we have in our midst, or during the lectures, when you go there, you have so many of our students not present. In fact, it's very pathetic.
Lecture halls and offices are open, but there are no students or lecturers. The local National Union of Ghana Students representative, Kwesi Majid, also waded into the issue at a press conference and gave a 48-hour ultimatum for the suspension of the strike, or they will advise themselves.
We would like the management to come clear whether we are staying on campus or not. If we are staying on campus, then it means that the issue of the strike, the decision of the strike has to be reconsidered because we are here. But if the strike will not be reconsidered, then it means that we have to go home. And so we are giving management from now till Wednesday. Today is 6th. We are giving management till 8th of December. If something substantial doesn't come out of this, then we will take a decision which I will not make known here.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Back here in Accra and in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. We'll take a break on the pulse. We'll return with the very latest from the sports world.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment on Pulse with me, Ray Kwampofo. We continue with our Champions League diaries. Today, we focus on Group E as Barcelona and Benfica chase the remaining last 16 slot in the group. Barca would be in Germany to clash with Bayern, and then Benfica host Dynamo Kiev in Portugal. Barcelona would secure a last 16 berth if they beat Bayern. So to some extent, their destiny is in their own hands. This is how Group E sits at the moment, with Barcelona on 7 points, Benfica on 5 points. Well, joining me in studio is Joel Bote from the Joy Sports team. Joel, in terms of the permutations, Barcelona know that if they win, they're through. But if they don't, they might have to hope that Dynamo Kiev prevent Benfica from scoring. Which two scenarios, or which scenario do you see to be the most likely to happen this evening?
So for tonight's encounters, I believe that if you look at Barcelona and Bayern, it's going to be a tough fixture for for Barcelona, because they're going up against one of the giants of the German Bundesliga. And Barcelona are kind of struggling at the moment. They're still trying to find their feet with Xavi. So if you look at the current situation, the current standings, Barca have to make sure they're able to get a result at Bayern, and that's where I find unlikely. So I believe that Benfica have to do everything possible to get a result against Dynamo Kiev, and that's where they can thrive at.
Do you see Benfica getting the result against Kiev at home?
Yes, I do. I do see Benfica getting that result. I don't see Kiev as a strong side to really worry to worry Benfica, because if you look at the games that Benfica has played against Bayern, you notice that they were able to hold Bayern even in the first encounter. You could see that there was a team that was fighting there, one of the sides that can definitely pull out a result. So looking at the standings, I definitely believe that they can get a result at home, yeah.
But Kiev's only point in the group came against Benfica at home.
That was a shocking result. That was one that I was really shocked about. But I still believe that they can still make something out of this encounter. Remember, it's the last game. If they're able to pull a form of magic out of the bag, they can definitely get that result and qualify to the round of 16.
Well, you're so sure that Benfica would get the result tonight. That means that Barcelona would also have to match whatever Benfica do, and that's to win.
Yes,
If you do think this is unlikely, then that leaves Barcelona in the Europa League.
Yes, that's where I believe they should go. I believe that's a competition they may be able to thrive in at the moment. Currently, if they take that next step to the round of 16, it might be one of those 8-2s that we saw in the couple of seasons that they went to the round of 16. So I believe that they should take their time. They're still a rebuilding team. It's not bad to go to the Europa, so they should take that step.
Quickly, on the Barcelona versus Bayern game, what sort of match do you expect? Bayern are already through. There's a possibility they might ring in a few changes. Barcelona know that they have to win. What type of match should people expect in Munich?
So this game is going to be an interesting one. Xavi says it won't be a miracle for Barcelona to pull out a result against Bayern. But if we are being real and being true to ourselves, can Barcelona actually match the standards of Bayern? That's where the question lies. So I personally believe they'll go in with a fighting spirit. Xavi would like to attack, but then Bayern would definitely be the big one in there. They will definitely come out with the results. Müller has already said he's not going to let that Ballon d'Or result try and stop what he wants to do. He will definitely go all out and get a result for Bayern.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. Barcelona and Bayern Munich seem to have grown a bit of a rivalry in the past few years. The most memorable result in recent history is that 8-2 victory for Bayern in that season where they went on to beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. But remember, they met earlier in the season when Ronald Koeman was in charge of Barcelona. And once again, the Germans cruised to victory. Can Xavi Hernandez pull off what he doesn't describe as a miracle, but a lot of people refer to as a miracle, and lead his Barcelona side to beat Bayern and qualify to the round of 16 stage? Well, we're here to bring you updates and highlights of the game on JoyNews Prime around 7:45 and 8:45. My name is Ray Kwampofo, and that's the sports for now.
And that's how we part company this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Up next is Let's Talk Showbiz. But do log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news there, an update of all the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.